Good evening, San Bernardino. Thank you guys so much for joining me tonight. Make sure that we are live and up and running for everybody. So I hope you are having a nice evening, staying as cool as possible because it's hot. It's just so I'm ready. I'm ready for the fall. So okay, we are up. So I'm doing this by request. So many of you have reached out since the forum Thursday night. Those of you that weren't able to make it, I'm sorry, we missed you. Unfortunately, the Wi-Fi just isn't connecting there, so we weren't able to live stream it, but it was quite the event, and it really couldn't have been better for a lot of reasons. But I definitely want to follow up on your questions. I know that not every topic was touched, so some of you have asked like what would we, different plans that I have for different areas, and I'm very excited to share that. And so we're going to do the recap you guys asked for to go over some of the information you were told, and then we're gonna get back to what's really the important focus, which are the plans for the city of San Bernardino. So hi, Scott. Thank you for joining, and let's jump in. So first and foremost, as many of you have reached out and said you were really, really disgusted by the behavior of my opponent, Jim Penman, and all the things that he was doing. And I know that many of you had expressed how upset and how you didn't know what to do in that circumstance. And look, what I came there to do Thursday night was to answer the questions that are important to the community. And so I know you guys were like, you should have said this and you should have said that, but that's a disservice to you. And I get that he doesn't care about your time or why you're there, but that really mattered to me. And that's why I stuck to the questions, because at the end of the day, you are who matter. And without plans and solutions, we're not getting anywhere. So we're just gonna, there were a couple things that people wanted me to go over. There's one thing, just because of the legal issues that are deal with it, we got to address, and then we got to move on. So here we go. Someone had asked and reached out and told me their experience with filing for bankruptcy. And I know this was weird, right? Like, everybody knew I filed bankruptcy in 2006 because that was a real talking point when I ran for the 3rd ward. So I know the poster child thought this was a moment, but what I went through in 2006, even though I was really young, has been an important lesson for me. And it's why I care so much about fiscal responsibility in our city, because 6 years later, after I went through my thing, the city of San Bernardino went through their own bankruptcy. And if you don't do right, if you don't follow the necessary steps, and if you repeat your history, you can end up filing again. For me and myself, this was a learning experience. I am so excited, like you guys, to have been able to come out on the other side. Bought my own home on my own. I own my own cars, and I'm really financially sound, which is such a great accomplishment. And I know that from what you all heard and what was expressed towards me, that Mr. Penman thinks down on people who have filed bankruptcy to the point of vilifying them, that they are no use to anybody after that happens. But I want you to know that I understand 100%, and that this decision is made for you and where you are in your family and in your personal life. And as your next council person, I will never use your financial history as a way to diminish you or tear down the hard work, because I know how much it takes to get yourself back financially. So I'm 100% with you. And that's why, so many people in that room, I mean, really were negatively affected by his comments. And we'll just show, like in 2006, when I filed, you know, over 1 million people filed for bankruptcy, non-business bankruptcies. In 2007, 775,000. In 2008, over 1 million. In 2009, coming out into the economic recession, 1.3 million. So this is not some isolated thing. And I really want to thank all of you very, very much for sharing your stories of success, for sharing where you are currently in your journey of rebuilding. And yeah, we're absolutely going to be able to build off of each other, because that's awesome. And people like you, because people like me, right? This is why we're so in tune to the budget. So I am so excited to be able, as the next council person, to really start participatory budgeting and bringing us together as a community so that we can go over the numbers and really see where we are at the same time. And this is why I appreciate Councilwoman Kim Calvin and the rest of the council for all agreeing to a full forensic audit so that we can get real numbers. So thank you guys for asking for clarification on that. The next thing, I know this has been such a big topic for us, and a lot of you were in the room who have been following were just like, what is he talking about? And other people who are just finding out about Kerrigan and us losing $800,000 on behalf of the city. So on April 3rd, if you guys don't remember, this is what Poster Boy was holding up, that Sonia Carvalho came out of closed session and reported that the left side of the dais had voted to release that false investigation report. And there was no settlement agreement at all. But in releasing this report, which you know, Fred Charette and Theodore Sanchez had been telling people they were going to release, I was shocked that you would release this report and not settle with somebody. Because why would you put in the city in a position where someone could use what you're putting out when there's this open complaint? Now, the city attorney answered my question, said no, nobody ever voted on a settlement on April 3rd. And so that answered my question. And actually, you know, informed residents that the city had denied Kerrigan's claim in 2024. And that this moment, what we found out was on April 3rd, the council's moment to attack Councilwoman Kimberly Calvin with false information and the Black community. We know this because just Wednesday, August 7th, which is 122 days apart from April. So I know that both of those months starts with A, and I'm a little worried about the senility here, that the city then gave Kerrigan $188,000 in his lawsuit settlement. So Mr. You know, Poster Boy Penman, he knows this. I mean, he's a lawyer. So those of you that have been following along, yeah, I know, right? It was a very weird moment. And those of you who don't, I know we've talked about this, a couple of us, but yeah, I mean, there's asking questions as a resident is a good thing. And I want to make sure that from now on, as you guys ask and you see things happen in council, you don't be afraid. I know what Penman is trying to do is make people afraid of, you know, asking questions and wanting to hold their council accountable. But as your next council person, you're good. I want you to question. I want things like I still do, right? Like, why are you releasing a report? If you're releasing a report, you must be settling, correct? No? Okay. Thank you for letting me know. Now, does he want to talk about him actually violating in leaking closed session information when he knew that Charles Montoya was going to be fired? No, but you know, that's not for now. But this is what that was, and thank you guys for asking. And if you want, I've done a whole series on this, so you can definitely follow my other videos. So I just want to say hi, Mike. Hi, Sarah, Tim, Scott, and Rob. Thank you guys so much for joining. Okay, this is a big thing that I have to legally, because of what Mr. Penman and his campaign team are doing. I have to address this. And if you were at the forum, you saw me stand up. And I know I had been throughout all of his, lies and attacks sitting there and just letting him do his thing. But I kid you not, Mr. Penman and his campaign team have been under investigation for what they've been doing regarding libel and slanderous claims about me being ever being arrested, which are completely false. And I had an attorney earlier that day tell me, like, we've got one of his campaign people saying it, we have people coming to his house, but he's never said it out loud. And this lawyer told me, there's no way he's this dumb, because he is an attorney, to know that if he were to ever say this, that he would be slandering you, because he has a higher duty of care to verify his own facts. And so when he said it, I was like, oh my God, he is that dumb. And so I need to make sure that our community is protected. I've never been arrested ever in my life for anything. And Mr. Penman knows that, because these are public records. I'm the queen of public records. And, Poster Boy would have been able to hold up an arrest record. And because he couldn't, this morning, his campaign team, Wendy McCamick, literally our former councilwoman, either created it, someone else created it, but she posted it. They went out and created a fake arrest post. And I don't know if someone was drinking last night or woke up hungover. I'm not sure where you all are at in your lives, but they posted something and residents immediately caught it, because while they created this arrest date, what they messed up on is that this arrest happened in 2015, but miraculously, I was released 46 years into the past, which just happened to be 14 years before I was born. And I know. This is what we're dealing with. And so when anybody actually looks up this website, there is nothing here. And what I think we all have to ask ourselves in these moments and in this time is, do we want a council person who is also an attorney, who would create false records against residents that they oppose? Now, many of you reached out on this because you were so sickened by what he's been doing and what has happened, that you reminded me about these investigators that he had as city attorney. And that is exactly what he repeated, that he wants to bring back these private investigators. And I have had residents tell me that they used to get pulled over by them, that they were being harassed by them at their homes. And look, in this last year, I have watched our government, our city council, create false investigation reports against their own council members and residents of the city. And now you have a person who's endorsed by Mayor Tran, Jim Penman, who is creating false arrest records. And I'm a very public person with a platform. And so I want to make sure we address this, because imagine someone that just has a complaint, right? Just has like a general concern in the city that they don't want to hear. What would they do to them? And so manipulators, liars, and bullies like Penman and his campaign team, they're all on notice. Legally, you're all on notice to stop lying to the residents. Do not tell anyone else your lie about me being arrested, because there is no arrest record. So that's it, guys. I just wanted to be very, very clear about that. And I appreciate all of you who have reached out. So, done with the drama, right? And look, from here on out, we got to stay focused on you. We got to stay focused on the city of San Bernardino, because this is their game. There was a reason why Penman was on attack all forum. And honestly, the moderator said it. You're not answering any of the questions, Jim. And that's because he has no plan, which is why No Plan Tran likes him. Because there's two people walking around trying to bring back a strong mayor and not worried about the residents of our city. And it's not what people call you, it's what you answer to. And so my goal, my desire is to answer to you as Councilwoman Dr. Treasure Ortiz of the 7th Ward, coming this November 5th. And no matter what, we're going to stay focused. So these are the solutions to the questions you wanted more in-depth answers to from the forum and things that you wanted me to follow up on. So this is where we're going. And okay, here we go. So homelessness was a big topic Thursday night, and it is a very huge deal. And I thank you guys so much for sending me that email. I didn't see it that Penman had given out, but we're going to discuss that because you're right. It exactly tells what I've been telling you. Here's this email. Now, remember, there was this whole letter about kicking people out of the park and closing the park down, and the city attorney agrees to this and this and this. Well, when I called the city and other residents have called the city, they're like, no, like we didn't tell them we could just kick people out of the park, and you know, you can't do that. The Supreme Court ruling doesn't supersede what's happening here, which is what I said. And I remember y'all remember Penman's thing about she doesn't know how the Supreme Court works. Well, you guys sent this to me, and here we go. We're going to read it, and then we're going to review it point for point, because this is how I'm addressing homelessness, and this is great. I'm really excited about this. So on July 1st, now remember, his campaign manager lied, said this letter was when, you know, it started getting called out. This letter was posted way earlier. It says, the Supreme Court has not overruled the legal basis behind the injunction. Remember that the injunction was not issued because the city cited people. It was issued because the plaintiffs convinced the judge that the city removed and disposed of personal property without providing due process notice, an opportunity to be heard, and did not comply with ADA. So the basis of the injunction has nothing to do with the Grants Pass decision. Now the Grants Pass decision is helpful because the city can cite and arrest people who are sleeping in parks after closing hours and enforce all other laws on the books. We're looking at this very closely, and we'll discuss with council in closed session on Wednesday. Then she replies, remember, looking, he's not actually showing what he sent. Injunction would stop us from removing them, I'm going to say from the park, if the purpose is to clean up the park. If they are asked to leave because the park is closed, they won't leave. Then the citation or arrest for violating closing hours or so, that arrest would not violate the injunction. Okay, so we're going to break this down because this is great. Okay. First and foremost, thank you so much for putting out this email, because it really validated my life, and I couldn't have done it without you. So again, as I have and will continue to state, the Supreme Court's ruling in the Grants Pass decision does not change what happened with our injunction, and that's from the city attorney. It doesn't change what's happened here. And that's because it is a completely separate issue. Grants Pass, people were being cited because they were in public places and wouldn't go. We are being pushed because of ADA, which the city attorney talks to. They said, hey, you know, people are disabled and you're taking away their stuff, or you're not giving an opportunity to properly get to places. That's exactly what we've been saying, and I've been saying. So, as she says, the basis of the injunction has nothing to do with Grants Pass. Now, what this decision does have, and she says it will be helpful because the city can cite and arrest people who are sleeping in parks after closing hours and enforce all their laws on the books. Yeah, but here's the thing. We don't have open and closing hours. Now, you could argue, for the sake of argument, that this is effective in Second Lake because there's a fence. And because you properly open the gates at 8 a.m. and properly close the gates at 8 a.m., there are no homeless in that park. That's absolutely enforceable. which is why you can tell people to get out of the park. But that is not the case in Paris Hill or anywhere else. Now, he did mention Nicholson. That's under construction, and you know what? They're building a gate. So if they have, because it's a construction zone, started removing people, they're within their right. But we do not enforce open and closing laws on the books because we don't have an ability to open and close the park. It's wide open and it's free. The last thing, the second email, which is quite honestly just the heart of this, and thank you so much, because when you read it, it's actually backwards on the paper, and you guys were like, look at the first line, and I'm like, I know. When I read it, you guys are right. The injunction would stop us from removing them from the park if the purpose is to clean up the park. So for the sake of everybody, what have we been asking for? What do residents ask for? What is the mantra for the council and everybody in this city? Clean up the parks, clean up the parks, clean up the parks. No one's saying anything other than clean up the parks. And so just by that alone, just that fact alone, we cannot, because of this injunction, remove people out of parks. We can't. If they were asked to leave because the park opened and closed, as Sonia said, then we would cite them. But if you ask the city attorney, as people have, like, and as Poster Boy Penman has continued to do, twist and try to make a conversation happen that is not actually there. The city has never enforced this. In fact, the city has an agreement in place, a part of this injunction, that these are squatters who are entitled to 72 hours notice before ever having to be removed. And the city has to store their stuff, and they have to have a place to go. Grants Pass ruling doesn't negate the fact that we have nowhere for them to go. And what I find interesting, very, very interesting, is that Poster Boy is endorsed by the police. And what he has been in essence saying is the police are not doing their job. You're not enforcing, you should be shutting this down, this, these park rangers and all that. Like, hey, you know what? Can you imagine? I want you to think about this logically. It's 8 p.m. And let's just go with the argument of you can push people out of the park at 8 o'clock because you're enforcing hours. Everybody in the park, I want you out. So everybody picks up their tents. And where do they go? Where do they go? Well, we don't have shelters in place for everybody in their needs. So we move them to the sidewalk. So now you have an entire sidewalk right in front of the park filled with tents where they sleep from 8 p.m. to 7:59 a.m. And at 7:59 a.m., everybody wakes up and can go right in the park. Where is you know what, that's the logic of someone who doesn't have a plan. That's the logic of someone who's like, oh, you just want homeless people out of a park? Well, here, but I'm not going to tell you where there's a solution. That's the stuff that it's a miss. It's a miss because, yeah, had the city been doing what they should have been doing, which was enforcing hours, and during these cleanups and that stupid agreement that you guys made with the ACLU, this is on you. It just is. But I just appreciate you guys being able to see it firsthand that, yeah, the Supreme Court ruling didn't change anything. Governor Newsom's push for us, and I was met with the in a meeting with the sheriff of San Bernardino, who said, even though Gavin Newsom has made these orders and other cities are allowed to do this, that's not the case here in San Bernardino. So thank you, Sheriff Dykes, for that. And thank you, Sonia, that like you said, this injunction would stop us and has stopped us from removing people from the park just to clean it. And that's all that has ever been asked and ever been said. And you cannot, and this is, I guess, you know, that lawyer speak, well, let's just pretend like we're enforcing opening and close hours. It doesn't work that way. And thank you for showing us that it doesn't work that way. So let's talk about what will work, right? Let's talk about actual plans to address this stuff. So I want to make sure we understand, because we talk about this so holistically, like it's just homeless people. But there are homeless families, there are homeless children, there are homeless veterans, working people in parks. These are not just drug addicted and mentally ill people everywhere. And in fact, the people that are not afflicted at that point are trying their very best to survive in a very chaotic situation. And we need to address that. We need to be honest about this. So what I have proposed, and this is what I was talking about these infill lots. So what that means is that as you drive around your neighborhood, and I drive around mine, there are these like lots that are vacant. No one's ever built on them. And what a private developer can do, or an affordable housing developer, whoever, or a nonprofit could buy, if these lots are for sale, they can buy this lot and build a housing, especially if you're in a neighborhood. And this is why it's so important to me for the 7th Ward that we really look at our plan and our desire for what we want. Because the question was, where do you see homelessness? Well, we don't have big vacant lands per se. We have one, but that's owned by a church, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So look, so here you have this infill lot. Just, well, first we'll talk about what happened in June. We'll go June. HUD launched a new program to invest into manufactured homes. So we know the price of everything is just astronomical right now. So HUD is allowing, which was rare because the programs are very restricted, where you can bring in manufactured homes, which cuts down the cost immensely because they're, really good. That is in one way. And we talk about, the working families who are, homeless right now. What a great opportunity. And it's subsidized for them. Just 2 days ago, the Biden administration expanded access through HUD for housing for veterans. This is such a great opportunity, one, for people that specify in veterans housing, and another way for the city to expand. I mean, we talk about money, there's good money here, and veterans are a different source. My wonderful neighbor, Jerry Ferris, who passed away, it was such an amazing woman, and worked so hard in the veterans community. And we had amazing conversations about what it takes to get veterans off the street, and where that disconnect lies between the city of San Bernardino and Veterans Administration. And working with Sergeant Coker, there is such an opportunity here. We just have to address it, and you have to have a council person like myself, who's actually talking about this, and not just talking about homelessness, but talking about the specific population. So this is extremely important for us. And look, we can't afford to not utilize the funds we've been given. Otherwise, we lose them. So I want to address your question. So Mike, you said the 7th Ward needs to clean up all the apartment complexes that are run and owned by slumlords. Absolutely. Look, that is outside of homelessness. That is a cause, right? Because these these apartment complexes, some are being used to house lower income people or the homeless, and they're atrocious. And here's a big difference between myself and my opponent. I oppose slumlords, and he has spent his time as an attorney representing slumlords. And Mike, in the ones that are the worst, the PAMA, right? The Starlight, like that's what Penman has made money on, is representing these people that our residents in the city of San Bernardino are fighting against. And I 100% believe that we need to get code enforcement in there. There should be yearly inspections. You shouldn't be able to get a business license and retain any type of apartment or secondary housing rental that isn't inspected and up to code for people to live in. And if there, it's just, it boggles my mind that we have that lack in our city, which is why we have to build up code enforcement. There's no other way around it. And look, when slumlords fund candidates, that is what has made it so difficult for 25, I mean, for the last 25 years at least. And remember, just that number rang because PAMA Management alone were holding fundraisers for our previous mayor. And we know that Penman is absolutely in bed with our last mayor. So it's the same thing. And yeah, Mike, we definitely need to do it. Otherwise, we're not going anywhere. So thank you. So other than private developers in that, the city uses its own land, which is called surplus land. And this is what, like, a lot of people were like, surplus land, I've heard this. Yes, that's a designation for the downtown. So what the city, lands that city owns are designated surplus lands. And the way that they work is that the first priority in surplus land is given to those who want to build housing, and more importantly, affordable housing. And what we are seeing is that the definition of affordable has changed. I was very taken aback that now in today's world, it's over 100. Even if you make 100,000 and you have two people, you're still struggling. And what this does is this allows an opportunity for different entities to come in, and we have surplus land throughout the city. What I had really expressed, and I know that the chief of police has been such a champion of this, is our designation out of the parks, because you don't want to just, Penman it is push them on the sidewalk. You want to actually have people go and chief and I know that the city manager have been discussing this, is putting the current homeless on our surplus land throughout the city. I can't even fathom, and some of you have said, like, what do you mean just push them to Waterman and 6? What is Penman talking about? Who knows? Because he doesn't know. But you sparse them around to the surplus land because you don't want an inundation of homeless and unhoused in one area. That's not what you want. And those who could actually, this is for people that can actually be in a specific area. We could do that now. I know Chief was talking about, putting up real like military standard tents with wash places and bring in mobile showers and laundry units and really make it a place that people can sustain. That way we can open up the parks and it would be ADA accessible. So look, I know that Poster Boy Penman really wants to tear down those people, but I'm going to tell you that this our PD, our chief, and our city manager are really working. And even though it's been a rough time and there's not a huge plan, they are coming out with ideas and like I said, I don't want to wait until November for anything to happen with homelessness. It needs to happen today. Right now, we got to move forward, and then we can still implement these great ideas. Okay. This was something you guys had seen, and I didn't get to talk about it, but I brought it up, but we didn't get in length about it. So the city currently has about $60 million. Now, here's the thing. This has been a topic that Councilwoman Calvin has championed, talked about. This is even something that Councilwoman Ibarra has been the one to bring up multiple times. And this is that concept of like this tiny home. And we were sitting, the councilwoman and I, Calvin and a couple others were sitting and having this discussion. And I was like, let's look at Home Depot, and here's this unit, right? There's just this portable unit that is $19,000. And there's no kitchen. This is just a single, bed, couch, bathroom, which is all anybody needs. And just doing the math, this is basic math. You could buy 3,000 units. So let's say, okay, well, we don't have 3,000. I mean, actually unhoused, they quote unquote have about 800. Well, that gives us even more money. I mean, we're about to spend $32 million on a navigation center that's only going to house 200 people. So if you take half of that, that gives you the 1,500 units you need, and you can sparse them out wherever you want, and you still have $30 million for wraparound services and continuum of care. And if you want, you can find the families and the couples that are together, and you can even go a little bit larger. They had between $19,000 and $25,000 units. I mean, but this is the stuff, right? This is what, and Scott, you say it needed to happen 2 years ago. This needed to happen 25 years ago. If you were at the forum and I passed out a flyer, there was an article from 2013 where they redesignated Pioneer Park at Feldham Library out of being a park because the homeless were inundating the libraries. And, Poster Boy Penman was like, well, it only felt safer here 25 years before 2013 because we used to drop the homeless off in the park, but we've always struggled with this problem. This has been the issue with San Bernardino, is that there's always been these problems. They've just built over and over and over again. And there's never been a solution. There's no long-term game here. And that's what we have to change. All of this stuff is sustainable. All of this stuff is long-term continuum of care, whether you're just in a shelter transitional, if you need treatment, and we're going to get into that, there's a place for you. And it's not in the parks. And it's not in someone's alleyway or in the flood channel or on the side of the highway, because it's not going to benefit anybody. So this is what I mean. Treatment centers. And again, we've had this conversation in the last year and a half about Patton State Hospital, and it's not putting the homeless and assigning them as criminally insane. That's not what it is that there's a portion of the campus that is no longer in use. And what the state has done, and the sheriff was talking about today, is that, yeah, when they go, people deny, they like, hey, I don't want your help, I don't want your help. But what they've noticed and is that people are drug addicted and mentally ill. And in that case, they're not in the mindset to make these decisions, and sometimes their behavior is very erratic. And there's a thing called a 5150, which is a psychiatric hold. And if you know that people who are going untreated or people that are having withdrawals, like it's not a good situation. And because the state of California has changed their outlook on mentally ill and drug addiction, it is no longer a part of the incarceration pathway as much as it is the treatment and rehabilitation. And what they can do now is court-ordered treatment, where you go into a facility and you get the help that you need while you're on in this court-ordered thing. Then I guess you would go into probation or parole, move in from being out of a treatment center. Like Mike, like you're saying, they need more drug counselors. Absolutely. The county has Laura's Law. We can build this. There's so many nonprofits, right? Here's your opportunity. You get people treated so their mindset is, where it can be, or you get them through their drug habits, and then you get them into transitional housing where they learn. You give them wraparound services, provide them job training, education. Then once they grow, and this is not overnight, could be a year, years, they get into permanent sustainable housing. and hopefully become one day homeowners or reunited with their families or whatever that pathway is going to be for them. But you don't take mentally ill and drug addicted people and just put them in housing. It's not sustainable. It's really not. And so this is all court ordered and a really great opportunity for us to do something. Next, you have transitional youth housing, student housing. So there's two components here. One, because this looks like a dormitory. So for kids that are in the system who age out, you know, just because you turned 18 and you were in foster care, I mean, that so many of those kids end up on the streets because they have nowhere. And not all foster families keep them. Not all of our kids are adopted. And what we can create is an opportunity in these infilled or surplus land, or if a nonprofit were to build, is a place for them to go while they're working, while they're going to school, which is different than student housing. Just because you weren't in foster care, you may come from a family where the day you turn 18, you're out, and it's expensive. Going to college is extremely expensive. And depending on what your ability is to take out loans, you may not be able to live on campus. So we want to make these things affordable, especially because we are a college town, San Bernardino. We have so many youth in our school district and that come to our college, and it is extremely important for us to take care of the future. This is the future of the city of San Bernardino, and making sure that we have that relationship with the school district, making sure that we have a relationship with the county, that our children are never ever left behind or left out of the conversation is absolutely vital. And that's a big thing for me as an educator in the city at you know, the K through 12 and at the college level, because it's unnecessary, and we can definitely put this into all wards. There should be a place. I mean, look, Valley College, right? That's just because you're in Valley College doesn't mean that you have a place to live. In fact, you have no dorm to even rely on should you need it. So thank you guys that were asking about Tay housing. We didn't get into a lot of public safety, so yeah, what you guys asked is, look, we have a big city. We have 227,000 residents. While we are the largest city in the county, I know, you know, we have a lot of issues. We don't have a lot of cops. So over time, I am in support of over, you know, the next, and it is hard to recruit. So this is not an overnight thing. We're just, as Chief has told me, we're just breaking 300. Our heyday, we had 350. So the idea of 500 cops really is a long-term goal. Because I mean, look, it's been a decade and we still haven't met our numbers, but I do believe in support that one day the city, in its determined growth, can have up to 500 officers strong, and I want them to be homegrown. I really love to see our youth who have that passion to protect and serve in their own communities, and you know, looking at programs where they can come in and buy a home and stay here. It's really ideal, I think. And then I am a huge proponent against you know, standing up against bad laws. Right now we are seeing the tide change in our state. It really was, in my opinion, a free-for-all. Like, hey, let's fix social ills by not holding anybody accountable. And that's the problem, is when there is no accountability, when there is no, you don't have to pay restitution, then who cares, right? Then let's just get everybody together, run in the store and steal a bunch of stuff, and as long as you carry out under, you know, $800, no one's going to jail. You get a citation. You know, you can rob, loot, steal, whatever, you know, circumstance of your life, and we should feel sorry. No, it's not how life works. And so as a city council woman of the 7th Ward, it's definitely a priority for me to, anytime we see something, for us as a council to speak together, and definitely for me to voice any concerns that the 7th Ward has, because what happens at the state level affects us, and we've seen that trickle down. So that's a big thing for public safety. And advocating for faster response times. The chief has been wonderful in this, but I know we can do even more in hiring back our civilian force, which has been an effort for him. But in addition to that, I'm a big techie. Look, smart cities are a real thing. EMS smart cities are huge. It helps put more eyes on the streets when you don't have the bodies. And look, Chief is a super smart guy at Cal State, and what he does, and this type of initiative, the type of investments that we could do technologically, I think will put us ahead. Even if we can't get to our 500 for 20 years, we can sign into the technology of today. And I have to laugh when I hear people like, oh, we had cameras and red light. Like, no, like what is capable today is so much far more in advance. So I would love to see a really good start kickoff to a smart city EMS initiative, and a build up, like I said, of code enforcement, which is not PD, but code enforcement, parking enforcement, and community service officers in that civilian capacity to help supplement the cops while we're building. So let's see. So I'm sorry, Rob, I'm trying to read your thing. So every year the cops get high pay raises. Just one officer is basically 100,000 a year. That adds up. It does. Public safety is very expensive. Absolutely. Which is why we got to supplement. You have to eventually you have to have the bodies. There's no way not to have cops on the streets. That's not it. But in the meantime, Rob, and this is what's awesome, is technology cuts costs. The initial investment may be high, but it's a one-time initial investment. And then it offsets. And hey, let's see where technology is in 5 years from now. Because I mean, oh my goodness, look where we are in a decade. That could very much help us lower our dependence and be at like, okay, then 350, even if our population got to 300,000 would be sufficient. And not only that, remember, public safety isn't just policing. Public safety, like Mike Hartley, my champion, is code enforcement. It's park and recreation. It's the schools and education. It's the libraries. It's an investment into the entire community. Better income, higher levels of education, all raise the quality of life in a city and lower crime. So this is going to take all of us to do it, and finding those cost saving measures is absolutely important. So thank you. That was a great question. Very, very good. Slumlords should pay more taxes for the extra police. Hey man, their fines, Mike, absolutely. Finding these people and holding them accountable is its own fund. And remember, code enforcement used to pay for itself. And what I would like to see, you guys just asked me great questions. I wish this would have been like kind of the forum, is to take those taxes, Mike, the things that they come, pay back in when we hit them hard, and reinvest them into the community. Pay the salaries of the department, sustain it that way. But also create a stipend program, like for the residents, the older, the people that don't make as much money, to help them paint their houses, or do a $50 stipend to local landscapers or gardeners who can cut the grass and maintain. That if you get people into programs and beautify San Bernardino one street at a time with our own money. I mean, we pay taxes. We should be reinvested into with those taxes. And slumlords should, one, be held accountable, and two, never be here again. So great, Mike. Thank you so much. Okay, economic development. We did not touch on economic development, but you guys were like, what do you mean a specific plan? I am a full believer. If you dream it, you can achieve it. And I'm pretty sure as a kid that was on my wall somewhere. We have to have a plan for the future. And in economic development, especially in the 7th Ward, we have this unique, wonderful opportunity to have East Street, 40th Street, and Highland Avenue as these commercial corridors that basically encompass us as a community. And we need to invest. One, again, we got to clean up the homeless. We need to bring in new businesses and restaurants. We need to look for opportunities, and it's a little bit harder without the redevelopment agencies, but opportunities still exist for us to make, especially Highland, a mixed use corridor, where if there's an opportunity to build above with housing and shops below, we do that. Strengthen and improve our design guidelines, like everything. Just like, have you seen like the stuff where it's just like a white building with ugly blue writing, and then you've got something that's completely brown, or it's like we need an aesthetic that sticks, where people have to keep up their property and put up the proper signage. And with that, we can help existing businesses by adding resources like marketing and public safety, outside maintenance, and sidewalk cleaning. I know when Rob Field was here, he talked about a whole plan where they clean the sidewalks. I'm not sure if that's ever happened. I haven't seen it. And then again, more police, because you got to have patrol. People have to feel safe in a walkable space. That's the biggest thing. If we want people to walk and shop, you got to feel safe, because you want to feel like you're going to get mugged or accosted just by trying to do something. And I love this rendering on the bottom. It's, if you guys know, there's just this old abandoned adult shop, and we reconfigured it to look like a cafe, because I mean, that's the vision, right? Like if someone wanted to come in and they wanted to do something and revitalize that corner, what could it be? So, if you can dream it, like you really can, we really can achieve it. And I know there's entrepreneurs and there's good people that want to come and invest in San Bernardino, and I know we can do that together. So I hope that answers your question. And that's it. I just want to thank you guys so much for coming along. And thank you guys for your continued support. This has been an amazing journey. And I had a great friend call me today and tell me that that this has been amazing for them to watch and to see, and everything that we're facing and discussing is just such an inspiration. And truly and honestly, I didn't know anybody believed in me more than me. And I'm going to tell you that the level of hit and attack by my opponent only solidifies that he also believes and knows that I'm going to be elected, because you would never, ever have to go that hard and make up that much. And so thank you for believing and knowing the truth that we're going to win this. And we are going to change San Bernardino for the better. That's quite a thing to come to the realization of. And yeah, I think over the last 2 elections in the city, we've been able to build something that is so threatening to the old establishment that that we know it's our time. And that is so exciting. So what I need, you guys asked, what do I need? Well, along with your awesome support, I need a donation, because look, this is costly, and it's an investment. We are investing into your future and into our city. And so if you can, I mean, any donation, $5 above, whatever, will get us to where we can be. And so if you go to my website, treasureortiz.com, there's a link right there, and together we can move our city forward. This is an exciting time. I mean, we are right here, just a couple months away from taking our city back and truly being on a path to become an all-America city again. And I can't do it without you. I don't want to. And I just am so excited about being your representative come this November. And so thank you guys. We're going to be doing more lives. We've got more stuff. I've got some meet and greets coming up, and some other things planned, and definitely a fundraiser for those of you that want to be in person. So, but yeah, please don't hesitate to reach out. Don't hesitate to donate. And thank you so much, San Bernardino, for all that you do. So have yourself a great night and a great rest of your weekend. Let's go, San Bernardino.